Welcome back to Cord Cutting Today, where we break down some of the biggest stories happening in the world of cord cutting, including today. Disney's reportedly in talks to sell part of ESPN to the NFL. We'll tell you what's happening there. Cord Cutting 2.0 is here, and it's really kicking Spectrum and Comcast and others hard. And lastly for today, Spectrum is reportedly, to cut costs, going to start closing some stores. We'll tell you where, what's happening, what you can expect from this, and a whole lot more here in a minute. First though, if you're new here, check out the show notes down below and in the first pinned comment. I'll put a link to each story there so you can read about them for yourself and come up with your own opinions. I'd love to hear from you. If you're new here, do me a big favor, hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up, and let YouTube know you enjoy what we do so YouTube recommends our videos to more people, hopefully helping you break free from the high costs of cable TV at the same time. With that said, let's dive into it. Disney, according to the New York Post story, is in advanced talks to sell part of ESPN, not all of ESPN, but part of ESPN to the NFL. This would also give Disney a majority control of the NFL network, NFL media, which would include NFL Plus, Red Zone, and other assets. Now, this was first teased back in July when Disney CEO Bob Iger said he's open to selling some TV assets. This raised the question about ESPN. That was quickly followed by a report that Disney was in talks with the NFL, NBA, and Major League Baseball to have them take part ownership in exchange for content rights in ESPN. Now, New York Post has come out and said that their sources say that the talks with the NFL have advanced from preliminary to advanced talks. Now, take that with a grain of salt. Advanced talks don't mean a deal is going to happen. Just means that there may be a little bit more serious interest, than there was from NBA and Major League Baseball. Now, with this deal, they say that ESPN would take ownership or majority control of NFL Network, NFL.com, and Red Zone, along with the NFL Plus streaming service. Currently, Disney owns about 80% of ESPN. Hearst owns about 20%. Disney could sell part of that, give maybe NFL 10%, 20% stake, and still maintain a majority control of ESPN. But with this deal, they're reportedly looking for ways to expand their content, and partnering with the NFL will allow them to do that. We'll see how this all plays out, but for now, Disney is in early talks, or advanced talks, I should say, with the NFL per reports. Maybe a deal happens, maybe a deal doesn't happen. We'll have to keep a very close eye on this and see how it plays out. All right, Cord Cutting 2.0. Now, Cord Cutting 1.0 was the idea of canceling your cable TV and streaming your content. Cord Cutting 2.0 is completely breaking free from those cable providers and getting rid of their internet service and going to either a 5G wireless, fiber, or a satellite option. There's a growing number of options in many areas. Now, we're seeing this really start to take off in the 2023. We saw Verizon and T-Mobile add 941,000 5G home internet customers in just the third quarter, in just 3 months. That's a lot of subscribers. At the same time as the cable industry, a vast majority of them lost subscribers. The only real exception to that was Spectrum. They added subscribers, but now they're saying they expect to lose subscribers in the fourth quarter. We're going to see this become more and more common. Look for Cord Cutting 2.0 to really take off. We're kind of at the same point we were. This very much reminds me of 2015 to 2016 time with cord cutting. 1.0, a lot of people are like, it's just whatever. Most people come back. It was actually a very common line. They'll go to the streaming, they'll try it, but then they'll come back to cable. We're actually hearing those exact same words from cable executives. Yeah, they're trying 5G, they're trying fiber, they're trying satellite, but they're going to come back to us. We'll see. Maybe some will, and some people did go back to cable, but not enough to offset the massive losses we're seeing with cable TV. I expect that to continue with cable internet here. This puts companies like Comcast and Spectrum in a tough bind. A lot of people long said, well, they'll just jack up the internet rates. They have no competition. Well, now they have competition. Now there's T-Mobile, Verizon, AT&T, and other companies launching 5G home internet service. We're having SpaceX and Amazon launching satellite service. We're having fiber options from more and more companies. I have AT&T fiber in my home. Well, there's a new company running fiber down our street right now that will give us a second fiber option. I can't believe it. We're going to have 2 fiber options, a cable internet. T-Mobile is available in my area. Verizon, not yet, but they say coming soon in my area. And of course, I could always get a Starlink dish, or someday maybe an Amazon dish. These are options that 5-6 years ago I couldn't dream of. 10 years ago, my house had DSL, very slow, or cable, and that were my 2 options for home internet. Now I have multiple. So look for this to become a reality. I always find it interesting. People always say, oh, well, I have no options. More often than not, when people say they have no options, it means they did no research. Even a year ago, like I said, I had two options really. Now I have quite a few. So if you haven't done your research, make sure you do research again and see if you have other internet options where you live. Is it possible that truly you may not have more than 2 or 3? 100% possible. But I think for most people, increasingly, you're going to have 3 or 4 options to pick from now. This is, we just talked about this hidden Spectrum hard. Well, Spectrum is looking to cut costs. Core Cutters News has now talked to multiple Spectrum employees who have told us that their Spectrum will start closing stores in 2024. Spectrum and Comcast and others have these stores where you can sign up for service, get equipment, sign up for wireless plans. Spectrum will reportedly close 9 stores in the Northeast, with other stores planned to close throughout 2024. Spectrum plans to cut underperforming stores in an effort to lower costs. No rent, no employee costs, and more. With that, now look for this to become a growing trend. Now, if you live in one of these affected areas, you may have to travel farther to go to another store. You may have to start using their phone or website services to get help to buy products, to pick up services, and more. Stores are great, but they're also expensive. There's high rent often in some of these prime locations these stores are in. There's also a cost of the employees. There's also a problem of getting employees. A lot of companies are struggling to get employees right now, and closing stores may allow them to relocate employees to other stores to make sure they have full staffing. We'll keep an eye on this. No dates for when this will start. Spectrum has not made an official announcement, and they declined to comment on our story. All right, AT&T is reportedly still looking to sell DirecTV. AT&T late last year came out that AT&T was actively looking to sell part or all of DirecTV. AT&T currently owns about 70% of DirecTV still. They spun DirecTV off into an independent company with an investment firm, but they still maintain a majority control of it. They get a majority cut of profits. While now it's reported that AT&T is looking to sell either part of theirs to get some cash or all of DirecTV. We'll see how this plays out. AT&T is no longer propping up DirecTV like they once were when they fully owned it. They put a lot of effort, a lot of cash into it. DirecTV is still generating good revenue, but its expenses are getting high. And I think AT&T is looking around saying, if we're going to sell it, now may be the moment, because in 5 years, there may not be a whole lot of subscribers that people would want to buy. There's long talk that this would be the time when DirecTV and Dish would merge. Right now, Dish is a little tight for cash as they're working to build out their 5G network. They're really trying to transition from a purely TV company to a TV company that is heavily focused on 5G wireless. We'll see how that plays out, but overall, AT&T is still actively in 2024 looking to sell DirecTV. Do you use YouTube TV? Are you sharing your accounts with people who don't live with you? YouTube TV is cracking down. YouTube TV recently has really started to aggressively crack down on people who share their accounts with people who don't live with them. YouTube TV does allow you to share your account with people, but if you read the rules, it clearly says they have to live with you. If they don't live with you, you're not supposed to be sharing your account with them. In the past, YouTube TV allowed you for up to 3 months to use your device outside your home and then bring it back. They lightly enforce that, but now they're getting very aggressive. If your device is not coming back and reconnecting the home network, they're cutting the growing number of people off. This comes as a report from All About Cookies says that YouTube TV is one of the most shared streaming services out there, with 47% of its customers using a free trial or sharing a login with a friend instead of paying for it themselves. I predict that this is probably going to continue to be a big crackdown. We've heard from a growing number of readers who said for maybe even years they've shared an account with their parents, siblings who don't live with them, and now suddenly that secondary location is getting cut off in a way that it wasn't in the past. So look for this to become more common as YouTube TV has to cover costs, and if they're looking at 40-some% of their subscribers sharing or on a free trial, I'm sure they'll love to try to move those people to paid accounts. Let me know, have you ever had this happen to you? Have they ever cracked down on you and said, hey, you're using this in an area where you shouldn't? Let me know. All right, Disney executive has warned that the new contract with actors may mean that seasons may not get as long. According to the Disney executive, we may see fewer seasons of popular shows because of the new rules from the new actor deal. this could force shows that were on the bubble, where maybe in the past they were renewed, because of the higher costs and other issues, they may not be now, according to the Disney executives. So let me know what you think. Do you predict Disney will actually follow through, or want to see more shows but with fewer seasons? Or do you think this is just hot air? I want to hear your predictions for this with it. And lastly, before we get into the questions of the day, the CW is rolling out a new logo. They're dropping the. For a long time, they were the CW. Now they're just the CW without the on the logo network. And they're going away from green to kind of a black and reddish orangey kind of color with it. Kind of a darker, more modern look than the white and green lighter colors. We'll see how this plays out, but Nexstar, the owners of the CW, are rebranding the CW to kind of be honest, it's a very different network than it was a few years ago. All right, let's get into a question of the day. If you have a question for me that you want me to answer, leave me a comment down below. Start off with something like a question for Luke, so I know it's for me to answer. Today's question is, I'm still fairly new to cord cutting, and I'm thinking about getting an antenna. I keep hearing about ATSC 3.0 rollout, the new next-gen television standard. Do I need anything special to pick up and watch the ATSC 3.0 standard, or just get the standard antenna? Now, the good news here is your antenna is great. If you want a new ATSC 3 standard or the old one, your antenna will do both. An antenna is basically just a piece of metal fine-tuned to pick up your television signals. It transmits what it picks up from the air through the copper to your TV or whatever device you're using, and then it at the TV decodes it. That antenna is also picking up AM, FM signals, cell phone signals, but it's the tuner in your TV. That tuner is what says, hey, we're looking at this very specific frequency, and we're trying to pick up the signals, and we're going to ignore everything else. That AM signal that we may have accidentally picked up, that cell phone transmission we may have accidentally picked up, we're just picking up the channel 13, 15, whatever it may be in your area. So what you need is a tuner. Now, a lot of new TVs, I don't want to say most, but a lot of new TVs are coming with the new ATSC 3.0 standard. You can get a special external tuner either through an HDMI port or a network. Actually, I don't think there's any networks, just through HDMI port that you can plug your antenna into for new ATSC 3.0 standard. Now, the important note here is for the next few years, the TV stations have to continue to broadcast in the older television frequency. So the 1.0 standard you've had forever will continue to work. I think it's 2027, subject to change. The FCC says they will review this in the future. But the FCC has said that television stations must offer, if they're broadcasting a 3.0, still offer the 1.0 standard. So you will be able to get your big 4, if you live in an area where you can pick it up, included on the 1.0 standard. Again, though, any antenna is a HD antenna, is a ATSC 3.0 antenna. It's actually what's in your TV, that tuner that looks for the particular frequency. Now, there are quite a few tuners coming on the market now that do offer like an HDMI cable. You can plug your antenna into it and then plug that little device into your HDMI port to get 3.0. Or, you could kind of wait it out and maybe get a new TV next time you upgrade with a 3.0 tuner built in with that. So I hope that answers your question. If you have any, feel free to join us over at Cord Cutters News Tech Support Group on Facebook. We have a link to it in the show notes. We have a Facebook group dedicated to answering all kinds of cord cutting related questions. There's almost 90,000 people in it. Help us hit that. We're very close to the 90,000 goal. But it's a great place to answer your cord cutting related questions, or if you don't have questions, maybe help other people get their questions answered. Check that out in the show notes down below for a link to our Cord Cutting Tech Support Group on Facebook. Well, that's it for today. Take care. Be safe. I'll be back again tomorrow.